What's going on, guys? We got a fuzzy car video for you. Important thing that I wanted to touch on is you got to train your abs directly. Now, you're getting a little work in when you're doing your heavy compound lifts, right? Because you got to support the upper body posture, your form somehow. But it's not enough to get the outer abdominals to be developed to where it's on par with everything else. What you want is deep lines in between your abs, right? That's what makes them more defined. You got to train them directly. And a lot of people have different ways they want to go about it. And I understand the different ways. So a lot of people, they want to stick with strictly body weight. And I don't necessarily see a problem with it. Just like you see gymnasts, they do all body weight stuff and they're pretty ripped, but they don't have volume to their physique. And if you're trying to build your body weight crunches are only going to get you so far. Now, you could do leg raises. Leg raises are pretty decent. I think those are one of the top tier ab exercises, but you got to do more than that. Excuse me. Now, one thing that guys want to do is they want to train their abs body weight so they don't thicken their waist. By thickening their waist, they mean like they're trying to make the circumference around their waist not get wider. Because if your abs get wide, if your midsection gets wider, then everything else looks less impressive by comparison. A guy with a really tiny waist and he's got like kind of big arms, his arms might not actually be super huge, but the disparity between those two, that's what's making the arms look crazy. That's what's making your lats and your chest look nuts, that your waist is so tiny in comparison. So if your waist gets wider, now everything else has got to get that much bigger to create the same effect. And you could have someone who's like 50 pounds more than you standing next to you without a shirt on, same body fat, but they got a wider waist. You might actually end up looking as big as them, photographic wise, not in person, but you're trying to create an illusion with your body. You're trying to, an aesthetic look, right? So a lot of guys, they want to train body weight strictly because they're afraid of widening their waist. The problem with that is you end up with underdeveloped abs when you get farther along in your lifting journey, because everything else is getting trained with all this resistance, and now the only resistance for your abs is the body weight. I like doing weighted work. Now I'm going to be honest, excuse me, as I get bigger and bigger, I am running the risk of I could actually thicken my waist. That's what they're afraid of. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. You can counteract that by doing vacuums to an extent, but you want to have deep cuts in between your abs, because it makes people's eyes get drawn to that first, followed by the silhouette and then all the other stuff around you. If you can get people's eyes drawn to your abs like Andrew Jacked, that is what makes really crazy physiques look awesome. So a lot of people, they don't want to train like weighted crunch. You can even get on a machine and just like a crunch machine. Now, preferably you want something that you're stretching out, you're moving your spine a lot. Most lifting, you don't want to do that. Ab work, you kind of need to, because the only way to lengthen your lats out, lengthen your abs out all the way, is to move your spine a lot. It needs a lot of spine movement. So, like a weighted crunch machine that allows you to do that, perfect. You could even do crunches on the ground and hold a plate to your head while you do them. Just something that's adding resistance-wise to it. And you got to keep in mind too, like most people that might hear this, like if you took all the kinds of stuff these guys are taking and lifted for 10 years, it would take you like 10 years of lifting and eating a ton of food, piling it in, doing everything right, to have the negative effect I'm talking about with thickening your waist. But keep that in mind. It's all upsides, man. You're developing your abs in a similar fashion to everything else by doing weighted work. You're getting deeper cuts in the abs. You're gonna reap the rewards of it without seeing any negative downsides. And even if you're a competitor, I think you should be doing this. I think one of the biggest contributing factors to widening your waist would be to have very unmanaged bulking seasons, off seasons. Because if you're piling in food and just like treating your body like shit, and like really like your guts pushed out all the time because you're eating so much food consistently over a long period of time, like you could do that and then diet down, your waist will look the same. But I'll tell you what, if you do that over many years, keep slamming it that way, eventually one of the times you cut down, your waist is not going to go back to what it was. And now the only way to make your waist tinier is to make everything else tinier too. And that's a pickle you don't want to catch yourself in. So the mass food consumption and like being unmanaged with it, that would be the leading cause of thickening your waist. Now, if you're doing that and coupling it with the weighted work, like I would say, you're shooting yourself in the foot. But it's all upsides if you're keeping things strict, like I know you guys are, and doing what needs to be done. You're going to get far greater progress in far less time doing the resistance with your ab work. And I'm a true believer of this. I wouldn't be talking about it to this extent if I didn't practice it myself. I've always practiced it this way. And my abs, granted I'm not an open bodybuilder yet, my abs are the focal point of my physique. They are the best thing I have on my body. The layout of them might be genetic, but the separation and all that is purely from years of doing weighted work. So I would keep that in mind. And just to end, remember, you're not necessarily wrong to do it either way. There's upsides and downsides, right? Like I said, the downside of only doing body weight, you're not going to get the total development you would with resistance work. The downside of the resistance work is you get that development, but if things go unmanaged for a long period of time, you could end up thickening your waist, widening your waist in a manner that now it's making your physique look unpleasurable to the eye. So, things to keep in mind when you're doing your ab training. I hope someone found that interesting. I don't know. I find it interesting. I love lifting weights. Anyway, have a good night.